Gobble, gobble. Gobble, 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 gobble. Gobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all of my buds. And today, well, buds, you are the guest. It is Thanksgiving here in the States where I'm from, a national holiday in which, well, we are thankful for things, mostly the harvest and other awesome stuff that we have going on in our lives. And we eat a lot of warm, comfy food. So we're going to get nice and warm and comfy on this episode. And we're going to do something special this week, this year's Thanksgiving episode, because the episodes always come out on Thursday and Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. So we like to have a little something special. And it's been a busy time of year. I just got married, which I'm very thankful for. Went away for a few days. And I think I'm close to fully recovered. But I wanted to hop on the mics, talk to you all, and read some fresh faves from the Buds community, which is a really cool thing. I'm excited to read some of these. These are going to be pretty interesting. They're all submitted on the Buds Discord, which is located in the link tree below. But before that, I do want to talk a little bit about what I'm thankful for, which I am thankful for this podcast and this community. It has been pretty awesome, folks. I think that it's incredible that people decide to turn it on every week and listen, and I'm very grateful. I know that there's a lot of content out there, and we're all trying to get your attention, but I'm glad that you all decide to pay attention to this one. It's pretty cool. So that is something I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my health, although I danced a lot at my wedding and my back still hurts. So I'm not sure if I should be thankful for it. But overall, I think it's feeling all right. And I'm thankful for my brand new wife, Lady Fresh, who is the best. And I'm thankful for food. As you all know, I like to talk about food at the end of every episode. And there will be food talked about at the end of this nice abbreviated holiday edition of Fresh and Buds. And I'm excited to tell you what some of my favorite Thanksgiving sides are. For those of you who don't know, sides are a huge part of the meal, right? People bring all kinds of stuff. People get a little crazy. People get a little reserved. It's all valid. So we're going to talk about that. But without further ado, let's hop in and talk about some fresh faves. Coming in hot, I'm reading it from the top down to the bottom based on who answered first to my call for fresh faves. First comes from William Knuckles, who I am very thankful for. William, who is from the Table Pit, longtime listener, has been on the show, is a good bud, helped me do a nice little cheeky design for something I needed last week, which was really, really cool, and I'm very thankful for it, and it went over awesomely. And I'm grateful for the content that he puts out as well, and all the work he puts into it. But without further ado, William's favorite hero is Tommy F. Not sure who that is. Sounds like a really cool guy. And then in parentheses, or Jarl, which, golly, this weekend is when Jarl comes out, which is very exciting for a lot of people. I'm interested to see how ice affects Classic Constructed once again, because it's been a minute. It has been a minute, and Jarl is, I think, tame, but has an insanely large card pool and a lot of potential, and that card pool is very strong. So I'm very interested to see how well it comes together, because Oldhim was a force to be reckoned with. Ebbs and flows throughout his life cycle in CC. Jarl will be an interesting one to kind of watch, because there's a lot of things going on in this game that wasn't going on in the game when Oldhim was around, and has a whole lot of new Earth cards, like the decomposed stuff that you can play around with that Oldhim wasn't really doing at the time. So it'll be kind of fun to see where Jarl lands. William's favorite weapon is the Ice Polearm Lobotomy. I'm not sure if is that the name of the weapon. I have to double check, but that new like heavy mechanic is so cool. I think that is such a well thought out mechanic. It's like, oh, listen, this is a one hand or two hand. It is going to be better when you use both arms because it is heavy, right? That is just, it's simple, but it makes a lot of sense, and it allows for some really cool stuff. For example, in Jarl, with having a heavy equipment or weapon, and then having the offhand shield, once the shield breaks, all of a sudden you are cooking with gas. And that is pretty cool. Nice little synergy there. William's favorite equipment, speaking of a offhand that will break, is Bloodied Oval. Now, William is a big supporter and fan of UPF, so Bloodied Oval makes a lot of sense here. And it is a really cool card, and I know the Vincent players love it as well. It is really cool to see something so simple as you just think it's like a limited card kind of have a home in other formats or even in specific heroes, just like Bloodied Oval. Now, William's favorite card, throw into your deck, Fighting Spirit Blue. Finals Fighting Spirit Blue. And that is a great answer. Now, William was on a couple weeks ago. I think that was his answer then as well. But this is a blue that will gain you life. And the only thing I don't like about it is not a popper. Unlike its yellow and red, I guess, cohorts. I don't know. And it is an iconic card at this point. We've got its second printing in Rosetta, downshifted in rarity, I believe, which is exciting for the commoner fans out there. But great answer, William. And then I also put the bonus question of what class and talent would you be in the world of Wraith? And William gave a simple merchant answer, which, listen, aren't we all selling something, folks? And the next bud to submit some answers for the Fresh Faves is the one and only Darth Prentice. Greg, audio engineer extraordinaire, one of, maybe the top content consumer in the game. If there's something going on in some content, Darth knows what's up. And he's a blast. And not a bad dancer, too. Favorite hero? Oh, lordy. Arachne Huntsman. We are on the relative eve of The Hunted coming out. So the return of Arachne. And whatever that brings, I think we are still about like 20 days, maybe 2 weeks away from knowing what like the chaos means. They gave us a hint. I think it's December 17th. So that'll be really exciting. But Arachne Huntsman is one of the coolest heroes in the game. Unfortunately, not the most powerful, but it's one of those heroes that people fall in love with and has so much to offer, and one of the more unique play styles, and being able to manipulate your opponent's deck is really cool, and Contract's just such a cool mechanic. So great answer there, Darth. Weapon. I think I knew this was happening. Greg loves the weapon Ravenous Meat Axe, which is, it's a 2 for 5. Listen, folks, that is an amazing rate. Sure, you gotta hope that your discards go well. That is a thing, but I think that this is one of the ones that allows for really powerful stuff, especially in Rhinar. You know, you always have the Romping Club, right? And the Romping Club is great, but the Romping Club serves a purpose more on the lines of let's grind you out. Let's do the true numbers thing, while the Ravenous Meat Axe thing is like, hey, I'm gonna get +2 and I'm gonna intimidate you, and you're not gonna have a good time. And then, on Berserk turns, it is killer as well. Now I know Berserk is not legal in CC, but it's still legal in Living Legend, so it is something that can go on. And I know that Darth was a little bit sad that Berserk got the axe, but such is life. I suppose Darth Prentice's favorite equipment, Redback Shroud, a equipment that I expect to get a little bit more play with the Hunted coming out, because you look at a lot of these legendaries, and if I were LSS, I would be looking at legendaries and saying, okay, this one isn't really hitting the mark like we hoped it would. And I truly believe that they should want their legendaries to hold value, and not only monetarily, but in gameplay as well. So if we see them say, hey, listen, we want Redback Shroud to make some more moves in the game, I expect some kind of support or something to make sense for it in the Hunted, which will be very exciting. It's a very cool card. Favorite run-of-the-mill card from Greg is Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed. This is a content creator promo. Came out last year, I think around Pro Tour Baltimore. So whenever the heck that was. And it is such a cool gift to give to the content creators. And it is a really cool card as well for UPF. And I hope that we get some more content creator stuff in the future. LSS, if you're listening. And finally, class and talent for Greg is Light Bard. Now, I've always known Greg to be a big fan of Solana, so not too surprised with Light. And Bard, certainly, yeah, I could see the tie-in with his wealth of audio knowledge and music, right? It just makes a lot of sense. Greg, right on the path. Next, the Orc Knight, aka Jesse Harper, coming in with, well, my favorite hero as well, Riptide. And what can I say about Riptide that has never been said before? I don't know. And Riptide is one of those heroes that I'm a little worried that Jarl is legal now, and Heart of Ice is going to be something that could be in people's sideboards for the foreseeable future. And while there are builds of Riptide that really don't care about Heart of Ice and almost prefer you to play it because it's a little bit less block, I think that, the fun days of grinding people out with traps might be over if that becomes a copy of a card that you see in a lot of decks. That being said, Riptide, number one in my heart, as always. Favorite weapon from the Orc Knight, and I could have guessed this before I even read it, is Talishar, the Lost Prince, asking for a gold foil when, I don't know. I can't answer that one, but I hope that it exists for you, Jesse. Talishar, the Lost Prince. Now, for those who don't know, the Orc Knight plays a lot of Talishar Lexi in Blitz, and that deck is a deck to be reckoned with. As crazy as that sounds, and if I love anything, it's a good meme. So Big fan of Talishar. Would like another generic weapon at some point, but we'll see. We'll see. Jesse's favorite equipment, Heart of Ice. What the? Listen, I just said that is bad news for Riptide. Now, Heart of Ice is sweet. It is a really cool card. It's one of the best looking cards. A lot of the ice stuff is really, really neat. And that one, it really showcases everything that is so cool about the ice talent. And because it feels strong and like solidified, I guess, as well as really just oozing with that ice aesthetic that makes you just go, wow, like this is something I want to play in my deck. So Heart of Ice, I totally understand, although I feel a little bit miffed. I don't know if that's the right word. And then Jesse's favorite card, run of the mill, Razor Reflex, classic. You know, it's not like the pummel where people like will always expect it. And honestly, I still get got by Razor Reflex pretty often. So the fact that it is a card that exists is just something you got to think about. When you look at the attack coming in, you're like, what can they have? Is there any possibility? You're like, you check their graveyard. Did they block with a Razor Reflex? Okay, no. And you just try to rack your brain. Did they pitch a Razor Reflex? Okay, you're like, no. All right, no blocks. Razor Reflex. God damn it. So it happens. But great answer there, Orc Knight. And finally, Jesse's class and talent is Ice Lightning Warrior, which, listen, I believe it would be Elemental Warrior with essence of ice and lightning. But I know what you mean. Ice Lightning Warrior would be sick. And that would be one of the coolest combos. And I don't know if we'll get, like, Ice Lightning is so polar opposite. I don't know if we'll get that again. Like, I think that Ice and Earth kind of being together makes a lot of sense. But I don't know about the Ice and Lightning again, because being able to disrupt and go super wide can be, a little scary. We saw it with Lexi, obviously. So if it happens, I hope it's a warrior. That'd be pretty neat. Although I'm excited for this Royal Draconic Warrior. Next comes from Junior, who did come up with the class and talent question, just so you know, and is an awesome bud, long-time listener, first-time fresh favor, that's for sure. And I did peek at it, but I already know Junior's a huge mech fan. So we're going to go right in. Favorite hero, Data Doll MK. Is that 11 or 2? I don't remember. But Data Doll, cute 3 intellect card hero that I've seen do disgusting things, and I've seen it make people want to quit the game from just playing it. 3 intellect is rough, folks. Although I guess Vincent players do that a lot. So I guess, listen, it's for not the faint of heart, for sure. But Data Doll, great answer. Although it's a little sad that we didn't get like the full, like really strong Data Doll that I guess was about to pop off in Blitz. But there will be times for Data Doll, I'm sure. Favorite weapon. This is now all right. The next, I'm not even going to spoil it. I'm going to read it straight. Favorite weapon for Junior is Nitro Mechanoid. It counts. It becomes a weapon, folks. And yes, it is very cool. And making the mech is very cool. And yes, I understand that High Octane is not around anymore. And that makes the Nitro Mechanoid a little less potent. But I think it's still an awesome thing that we have. I'll just skip right to the favorite equipment because it is also Nitro Mechanoid. Because it's also an equipment and it counts. And you leave it to Junior to really take this and be very creative with it, because also Junior's favorite card to play in their deck is Construct Nitro Mechanoid, which that's what you got to do to make the Nitro Mechanoid. So listen, it is cool. And honestly, I'm surprised that this is the first time I've gotten these answers like all combined like that, which is pretty neat. So I think that was great, Junior. I'm very thankful for you. And interestingly enough, nice little tidbit for the folks out there, Junior is a mail carrier. And the class and talent that he would like to be is Mystic Mechanologist, i.e. the Mech Postal Service. So, listen, I mean, if there's anything more perfect than that, I don't know what is. Junior, you have nailed it. Chef Viz, a.k.a. Mr. Viz, did comment on that, saying a lot of variety here. Good joke. I appreciate that one. And Junior did respond, I need more things to construct. So LSS, give us more things to construct. How about that? Capolo, the Swiss prophet, the man himself, comes in. Favorite hero, Oldham. I would have thought Dash. Now, there is a little bit of mech stuff going on here. Capolo has a nice range, but certainly is a great mech player. But I've seen Cap throw on the Oldham cape and go to town. Favorite weapon, though, Teklo Plasma Pistol, which another another victim from the high octane banning, that is for sure. But listen, it's still awesome, and it might not even be around in CC for much longer anyway if Dash IE gets not that many more points. So, Teklo Plasma Pistol, great answer. Going to live in LL format for a long time. Favorite equipment, though, is Stalagmite, Bastion of Eisenloft, which, if I am not mistaken, is the card that Capolo basically correctly predicted what it would be, because we knew that Oldham's shield at the time. This is a nice little lore for Flesh and Blood and content creator stuff. We knew when Tales of Aria came out from the hero page that Oldham had a legendary shield name. I think we knew it was Stalagmite, but we didn't know what it did because it came out in a later set, which I believe was Everfest. And Capolo made a video and said, well, this is what I predicted it would be. And then, boom, it was basically that. And that's where the name, the Swiss Prophet, came from. Cheers to you, Capolo. And favorite card to play in your deck is Red Zipper Hit. Classic. Mechanologist. Bread and butter card. You just want to play. If you're boosting, which I know Capolo likes to boost, you want to play the Red Zipper Hit. Play a lot of good reds. And the class and talent for Capolo is Earth Mechanologist. And is that the right one for a software engineer? Yeah, I would say kinda, right? I think that there are some rare earth metals that need to go into hardware for sure. So maybe it's like Mystic Mechanologist, also like Junior, but we'll give Earth Mechanologist. I think that's quite cool. And next is Sigma, the Chaos Brute himself. Sigma is one of those Flesh and Blood bands that is just unbelievably passionate. And listen, if anything, unlike being a brute player and just embodying brute, Sigma is very consistent. Sigma is very on message about what he wants to do with his decks, and how much he loves to play, well, Reinhardt, but also Leviathan. So let's get into what Sigma's favorite cards are. Favorite hero, Reinhardt and Leviathan. I just said it right there. How about that? Called it. But they give the same pleasure. This is a side note. Although I play Reinhardt much more nowadays, Reinhardt is one of the more fun puzzles to kind of try to solve right now. Leviathan, I play a lot of Leviathan in my day, and I will play more Leviathan. Is in a point where, there is the mini game, and you kind of want to play the mini game of the demi hero, and it becomes a little bit less of a puzzle to greatness than Reinhardt, because Reinhardt feels like the deck construction definitely has a lot more leeway, right? You can throw some interesting cards in there that won't take away from blood debt count or anything like that allow you to prepare for like a really wide variety of decks that you can come across. So big fan of both, though. Favorite weapon, though, although it sounds like a tie, but Hanabi Blaster, which I do think is an amazing weapon. I love the first time I saw it in action, I thought, oh, okay, this is the really, really powerful weapon that Mech really was like hoping for. Now, it didn't, I saw it in action and it did the thing, and I was like, this is so good when it does the thing. And then you just realize it's not as consistent as you hope it would be, and that once you're on the back foot a little bit, it's hard to get online. But I do think Hanabi Blaster is so sick. But Sigma also puts a note here that it's tied with Mandible Claws, which clearly from the Leviathan and Reinhardt love, you got to give the Mandible Claws some love there as well. That's two different brute weapons at this point, Mandible Claws and Ravenous Meat Axe. And then favorite card you play in your deck, Tear Limb from Limb. Oh, no, I skipped over equipment. Favorite equipment, Scabskin Leathers. Obviously, just I think one of the most iconic cards in the game, and it's going to be one of those ones that people will always talk about, right? As this game grows and grows and grows and grows, Brute is going to be a class, and people are going to be like, yes, Scabskin Leathers. From a bygone era of game design in this game, where, it is fun, it is powerful, it can lose you the game, it can win you the game, it does a lot of different things, as well as block for 2 with Battle Worm, which is pretty insane. It is an insane card, but I am pro Scabskin Leathers. I like rolling those bones. Now, favorite card to play in your deck, Tear Limb from Limb. Awesome card. It's one that I never really played a lot, but I know how satisfying it is to win with it, right? When you set it up, you go, okay, Tear Limb from Limb, hit the 6, boom. Maybe you give them an Intimidate if you're playing Reinhardt, and then you just send something else that's going to Intimidate, and then you're just like, old Jeb's a millionaire, and you are destroying them. It is so cool. Now, what class and talent would you be in the world of Wraith Sigma? And while this is quite on brand, Chaos, which is going to be a new talent, as we saw in the Hunted. Chaos Shadow Brute. Life's too short for boring heroes. Listen, I'm with you, brother. That is, that would be an awesome combination. Now, to be honest, I think now that Chaos is going to exist, we'll see how much it is tied to any kind of region or anything like that. But now that Chaos exists, I think we are bound to see a Chaos Brute. I don't know about Chaos Shadow Brute, but we are bound to see a Chaos Brute at this point, which would be really sweet. Next, we have Remy, one of the longtime buds. And really great to see Remy always popping into the Buds Discord, which is a great place to hang out, folks, if you don't know. Remy coming in, and this is a nice little nod to how long Remy's been playing. Favorite hero, Chain. Chain. That was the best hero in the game when I started. And to be honest, it was arguably one of the best heroes in the game until it left CC. Chain had some competition there with Briar and some other crazy heroes from Tales of Aria mostly, and then a little bit of Everfest with what was it? Starvo, I think was his name. Anyway, Chain. I always loved Chain. It really helped me learn how to sequence in this game and just kind of really see how the flavor could really be really just so rich and in depth. You're like, oh wow, like I'm a shadow Runeblade and I'm like banishing stuff off the top of my deck and I can play stuff and I'm making these soul shackles because I'm just like kind of cursed. And oh man, it's like it's such a like good ability to have, but also it's going to could kill me, right? And I just love that kind of balance of really cool stuff. Now I will say Leviat nails the actual gameplay balance a lot better for these shadow heroes, but Chain was really, really cool. Favorite weapon though, Rosetta Thorn. This one pops up a lot. I think as we've moved past it being legal in CC, people look back on it a little bit more fondly than we initially felt. But I think it kind of Rosetta Thorn got Brussels sprouts publicist and cauliflower's publicist and was like, we're gonna bring it back in a big way. We're gonna do this really, really cool full art Marvel in Rosetta, and people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that card was so cool. It was a 1-for-4, but who cares? It was split over 2 different sources of damage, whatever, it doesn't matter. It looks cool. And it was cool. So kudos to Rosetta Thorn for kind of making it back into the good favor and kind of good graces of the Flesh and Blood community. But I won't forget Rosetta Thorn. Favorite equipment from Remy is Face Purgatory, which is a new card, and it's a good one. I think that Face Purgatory, while I don't think it's powerful as Scowling Fleshbag, definitely there's going to be the comparisons there, and it asks a lot of you, right? It's not like Scowling Fleshbag where you're just like, here you go, I hope this totally derails your turn and I can still try to recover if it doesn't, right? Where Face Purgatory, it does ask you to meet these conditions like Runeblades typically do, and it does it in a way that could totally destroy your opponent's turn as well, even just like prevent them from having a good arsenal or any arsenal at all. I think it is really, really a good, I think, balanced addition to the Runeblade class that needed it after somewhat of a drought since the departure of Briar and Chain. Now, Remy's favorite card to play in your deck, Swarming Gloomveil. Clearly a Runeblade through and through here. Swarming Gloomveil changed the game. Not like changed the game, but it changed the Runeblade class, right? I think that we all were like, what's this Yu-Gi-Oh card doing in our Flesh and Blood game, and we weren't ready for how good it was going to be. It's still, to me, is like the marquee Runeblade aggro card that also could just kind of fit into some other kind of slower or more combo style versions of Runeblade. So it's just iconic, and it's another one of those cards, kind of like Scab Skin Leathers, as I was saying. It's going to go down in the annals of Flesh and Blood history as kind of like this iconic, powerful card that will always kind of have a place in the game's heart, which is really neat. Now, the class and talent that Remy would like to be is Elemental Runeblade, similar to Briar, but with ice instead of thorns, if that's allowed as an answer. I'd love an icy rune blade like Frozen Chain. So, with ice instead of thorns, I'm assuming ice instead of earth. So that would be really cool. And an icy rune blade does sound really neat. Now, ice brings disruption, and bringing disruption to a very powerful aggro deck, it can be scary, but it can be balanced. I do think it can be balanced. I think anything in this game can be. So I'm sure. I mean, listen, the elements are among the more popular talents in the game, and will likely kind of always come back. We still need a replacement for Lexi. We've had the dual replacement for Briar, and we just got the replacement for Oldham. So we also need a replacement for Icelander. So we're gonna have a couple more stabs at it, I think. So should be interesting. Now, Dreams of Violet, wonderful player, local, I believe, to me, not to any of you out there, unless you are local to me, then local to you. Their favorite hero is Azalea. First time coming up on this list here, Azalea, the original, the original bad deck, along with like Levia, before they got like a lot of support, and then it was like, whoa, these decks are really powerful. Azalea certainly got the real like juice, right, for lack of a better term, with like codex and certain pumps that the outsiders brought, and also just like having the quiver is actually also quite good, and the new Judge, Jury, Executioner, I think it's called, that card's pretty insane. But Azalea will never be my favorite ranger, but it is a ranger for me. And listen, that deck beats me. Like, it will always sneakily beat me, even when I feel like I'm favored or I feel like I'm ahead. And they blind Azalea, and you're like, oh my God, I can't hate you because you did the risky thing, and I love it. And that is really, really cool. So Azalea, great choice. Now, this is going to be a pretty eclectic. I mean, there's some I guess like bylines or through lines. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I think you all know that of answers here. But the favorite weapon being Cosmo Scroll of Ancestral Tapestry is a little out of left field. I would say that I feel like Illusionist and Ranger are kind of like enemies, at least for the Ranger. It's kind of like the Mad Men memes. Like I think about you every day, or I don't even think about you at all. It's like, you ruined my life. I butchered that, but don't worry about it. We're leaving it in, folks. It's Thanksgiving. Have another scoop of mashed potatoes. Scroll of Ancestral Tapestry, Cosmo Kramer. Great card. I think it is really sweet. As much as Enigma has felt pretty toxic to me currently, I still think that Cosmo is a really, really cool card. Gotta give props to Dagan White, I believe, who did the Taco Bell Cosmo, which was also really neat little altar there. But I love anything that incentivizes an illusionist not to do Spectra stuff. And this wants you to do Spectral Shields, right? And other, like the ward stuff, for sure. So I kind of like that. And, I always feel like I'm put in a wild spot when I need to talk about illusionist stuff, because it's like, I think about it 23 hours of the day, how much I wish illusionist would just go away and leave me alone. But listen, I know people love it, and I can accept that. I'm a big boy. But on to the favorite equipment, which I do love this answer. Rampart of the Ram's Head, which is one of the first cold foils I ever pulled. It was either that or Crown of Seeds, but obviously both great hits. And they add here, it's so silly to have a shield that blocks 0 base, which I agree. I do think that's very funny that this thing does not block unless you do some work. So it feels a little bit like it's almost in a way like the heavy mechanic where it's like you're going to have to actually lift this up a little bit. You can't just hold it and it's going to block for you. You got to actually maneuver it, which I do think is flavorful. And it is really sweet. And I think that, I don't know if Jarl's going to play it. Most likely going to play a shield that breaks if Jarl wants to play the polearm. So it's always going to have a place in Guardian, especially with the Mastery Pack coming out next year at some point. So great answer there. Favorite card you play in your deck? Barbed Undertow. I do love this answer. This is a card that I personally, in Riptide, I'm always trying to make work. The upside of this card is so high. Like the ceiling is basically in Mars. It's, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but I do think the card is so cool, and like to hit with it, and sure, I can imagine it's quite good in Azalea with the Dominate, but it just forces your opponent into a spot where, I hope they don't know what to name here, and then they do, and they're like, oh, or you miss the naming, but it doesn't matter. I think Barbed Undertow is cool. I love the art, just like that hooded Ranger in the back. Oh man, is that like dark tones in the card? It's so beautiful. And then the class and talent that Dreams of Violet would like to be Shadow Ranger. The Ranger class deserves to get even edgier somehow. I agree. Be the change you wish to see in Wraith. I love that attitude. I love that attitude quite a bit. Shadow Ranger? Holy moly. I mean, Shadow anything would be pretty sweet, but Shadow Ranger would be kind of scary, right? Because certainly there would be these reoccurring arrows that they would print for you to get out of your banish zone. And, the question is, how are these arrows going to get into the banish zone? I think probably it would be something like if this hits, send it to the banish zone, or, every time you could have like a quiver that says anytime this happens, you can pay 1 to return a arrow from your banish zone to your arsenal or something like that. Spitballing. We're not going to build Rome in a day, but that is sick. And it makes me very excited for that possibility. And finally, I think this is the last one that we got. Dead Summer. Our friend, our bud, Kale, who comes on once a set release to talk about lore. And The Hunted is going to be a banger, folks. I tell you that. Look out for that one. Probably January. Most likely January. If not, if we can't get the scheduling down, perhaps early February. But Dead Summer, I would have guessed Viscerai, but favorite hero, Florian. And there's a little note here, sorry, Viscerai. And it makes sense. Dead Summer, Kale just gives Florian. Honestly, Florian is... They both have that same aesthetic. Very stoic and goth and emo, and it's a vibe. As the kids say, I do think it is a vibe, and I love Florian. I do love Florian, and the fact, like when Kale came on, and this is why I'm so thankful for Kale. I'm thankful for everybody who submitted and everybody that's listening, but this is why I'm so thankful for Kale, because like Kale will give context to a lot of these characters for me, and that's why I like having them on every set release, because it allows me to see these characters, these heroes in a new light. Like, for example, Florian kind of hints at the fact that Florian is relatively the good guy, or here, who kind of realizes that we need to have things die and decay to have this rebirth and stuff like that. And I just thought that was like such a cool character arc or character trait in this character that like could have been just one note, right? So I love Kale for just giving me this context, and it happens every single set we do. Even like heavy hitters, which had like no lore. I felt like we were just talking about how cool it would be that Reinhard rises up all the brutes out of the Savage Lands to fight in the war. Like, I just thought it's a cheesy kind of trope, but I like it. I like it a lot. Kale's favorite weapon, though, Dread Scythe. Need more scythe support. You got that right. I think that would be so sick. Dread Scythe is definitely my favorite Rune Blade weapon by like a long shot. First of all, very cool looking. It's a scythe. Who doesn't like that? And it's not bad. Like, especially even with Florian, you can play the Channel Millennium Tree, just kind of like send 3, end 3. Is that 3? I forget how much. No, maybe it's 3 and 4. I forget how much the Channel Millennium Tree amps. I think it is 3. So that is so sick. And then obviously the relevant life gain text as well is neat. Favorite equipment from Dead Summer is Bloodsheath Skeleton with a note here that says rest in peace. Yeah, I mean, Bloodsheath Skeleton, it was a crazy card. It still is a crazy card, and I understand OTK is fun. It is fun to do that, but when you're popping a Skeleton with a billion rune chance and you have Sonata Arcanics and you're just saying, hey, listen, I know you thought you were winning this whole game and that you're at 40 right now, but I'm about to deal like a billion damage to you. It could be a little wild. So I'm glad that it's gone, but it does exist in other formats. So I'm glad Living Legend is a thing. Favorite card from Dead Summer, Mordred Tide. I mean, if you're going to say Bloodsheath Skeleton, you're going to have to pair it up with something like Mordred Tide, because that's how you're going to get the value out of the Skeleton, which is pretty cool. Is it Skeleta? I like Skeleton. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of something from Legend of Zelda. That's a little side note. But yeah, Mordred Tide, sick. Love that art too. Just like the misty, like the sinister mist going through the graveyard. Oh, amazing. And then bonus question: which class and talent would you be in the World of Wraith? Said before on the Rosetta Lore app, which you should all check out, but Elemental Adjudicator. And I think that is awesome. And having all 3 elements. I mean, if you're going to be an adjudicator in the element class or talent, you should be able to adjudicate over all of the element, all the elements. Great answer. Dead Summer. One of the best. And that's probably going to do it for the show, folks. This has been, I hope you enjoy just listening to the old Tommy Fresh talk, and hope you're all cozy. For the YouTube viewers, you can see that I'm sitting here by the fire. Nice and cozy in here, and it is nice and warm as well. We're keeping warm in these colder months. But I said it before at the beginning of the episode, but I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for everything that's going on in my life. I'm very happy. It hasn't always been easy in old Tommy Fresh's life, and I recognize that. And it's important to recognize when things are swinging the other way, when you roll the 6s on the scabs, and I feel like I'm rolling a 6 on the scabs right now, and I hope all of you get to roll those 6s on the scabs as well. And but also recognize that, hey, listen, just because you rolled a 1, you have a gambler's gloves, and guess what? If you roll another 1, there's always next turn, as long as you didn't have too much blood debt. So, but I am thankful for you all, and I am excited to hop into more guests. Please drop any suggestions for guests that you would like to have on the show. Always trying to reach out to people when I have time. Had a lot going on this fall, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm hoping to be able to kind of schedule in a more normal way. And I'm having another lifestyle change happening here in December, which I'll talk about, I'm sure, on a podcast or two coming up. But it's going to be pretty cool. I might even be switching this office around. Who knows? Could be crazy. Folks, if you see something different, don't panic. I just moved some things. But that's enough of that. Enough silliness. You can all find me on Blue Sky. I'm mostly on Blue Sky now. I do think Blue Sky is just incredible, and I was hesitant at first because it's scary. You're like, oh, I've made a life here on Twitter, but what could Blue Sky be like? And to be honest, I haven't looked back. I still check Twitter every once in a while, so it's still there, keeping it just in case somehow Twitter becomes a good place again. But Blue Sky at freshbudspod. Please check out my podcast I do with my cousin, Fresh Juice, talk about indie games. It's definitely a sillier vibe. Me and my cousin have known each other since we were young tykes, so we have a rapport that is a little wackier. So if you want to check that out, check out the Buds Discord. It's a great place to hang out and get involved with the show and just talk about Flesh and Blood or even other stuff as well. And then, golly, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, comment, subscribe. And definitely there's a Patreon too, but you can check that out. And holy smokes. And then just everybody that comes on the show, please check out their stuff, right? I know that it's a small community and sometimes you just know everybody that comes on. But I really try to bring people on and hopefully give them a spotlight, and hopefully you all enjoy them and go check them out. So I know a lot of you do, and I really appreciate that. So continue to do that. I think all these people are amazing. And yeah. But I do got to talk about food. It is Thanksgiving here in the States, which, traditionally turkey is like the main kit and caboodle here. And sometimes you get a ham. Certainly I've been to Thanksgiving dinners here in the Northeast with a lot of, American Italian traditions. Stuffed shells show up and like lasagna and stuff like that, which, hey, I'm all for. I love a lasagna. Okay. But I got to talk about the sides. Sides are what make Thanksgiving really because turkey's not for everybody. Meat's not for everybody, that's for sure. But there's some really great sides. So I think I'm just going to go through some that are on the top of my head, and I'm going to tell you what I think about them. Mashed potatoes, a staple, right? Got to have a good gravy with them, right? I don't mind if there's, I prefer them super silky, smooth, soft. But if you hit me with some chunky mashed potatoes, I'm not going to complain. It's mashed potatoes. I love potatoes. If you haven't guessed. Green bean casserole. This is something that is really only comes out during Thanksgiving. I like it, right? It's, creamy. I love green beans. Those crispy onions that you throw on top. Oh man, that's just it feels so warm. I can just feel it right now. And I will say my sister, Becca Fresh, if anybody wants to, she doesn't have a handle or anything like that. She makes something sometimes with green beans, with these shaved almonds, and kind of sautés them in olive oil and stuff like that, and then throws in gorgonzola, a blue cheese. You know me. Mr. Fresh. Love me some blue cheese. And that dish is stellar. Now, something else she does well, and I'm only saying this because she doesn't listen to the show. I can't let her know that. I compliment her. Is she makes an amazing mac and cheese. Oh, golly. It is good. She uses penne pasta, which, if I'm going to be honest, It's not the best pasta for mac and cheese, but listen, the cheese sauce, it's all these different cheeses and like varying degrees of sharpness that are just so good. And I hope that she's making it tomorrow because I am craving it. If you can't tell, I'm recording this on Thanksgiving Eve. But in your mind, it is already Thanksgiving, or it already passed and you had a great time. Oh man, I like cranberry sauce out of the can. I know that sounds crazy, but it's weird gelatin stuff, but I love it. And I understand if you don't. One of my aunts, I have a lot of aunts, but one of them makes a like kind of sausage and cheese stuffed mushroom. Oh my God, folks. This is turning into not a flesh and blood podcast anymore, but I need to talk about these things because I'm so excited. I love Thanksgiving, actually. It's one of my favorite holidays because I love food, so it's a problem. But sausage and cheese stuffed mushrooms, oh, so good. I could eat a million of those. Sometimes I do the cream Vidalia onions, which I like, but listen, it makes my body toxic. I will say that. I'll leave it at that as well, but they are so good as well. And then for desserts, I think I wasn't even going to talk about desserts, but I'm a pumpkin pie guy. I like a nice, good pumpkin pie. And, my family, big family, my grandmother, who's not with us anymore, but she had 10 children, right? So I come from a big old family, and she loved baking, and she made amazing pies. So, like, that's kind of how a lot of my aunts and uncles and my dad, like, kind of connect with her by making a lot of pies. So I feel like we always have a ton of pies, but it's like apple pie. And I think my dad always makes the apple pie, which is excellent, but I can't tell him that because I'm not in touch with my emotions. No, I'm kidding. I do tell him. I like an a la mode, of course. I like a cherry pie, pecan pie. I like all pies. Pies are good. I'm not the biggest sweets guy, but it's Thanksgiving. You just shovel turkey and mashed potatoes into your gullet. You gotta have a little pie to top it off. Anyway, I think I've went on too long. It's pretty incredible. I talked for an hour, folks, and I don't have time to have Charmer on. Although I do see him sitting over there. Whatever, I'll get to him next time. But hey, thank you all. Thankful for you all. And please stay fresh.